to have the manufacturer's affidavit on hand to know what the country of origin for the item actually is. The second thing that you can subtract from the invoice value are international freight and insurance. If international freight and insurance is included on the invoice value or as a part of the invoice value, you can take out international freight and insurance. Remember, this only represents the international freight and insurance. For example, if there was shipment from England to the US, it's going to represent the ocean or the air portion of the shipment that's over the ocean. But if there's a thorough bill of lading, that this can include the foreign inland shipping as well. If you want to learn more about international freight and insurance, then go back to one of my previous lectures when we talk about international shipping. That's where we discuss this more in detail. The third thing that you can take out from the invoice value are any discounts that come up. So for example, if you have a transaction or the seller says if you buy 100 pieces, then you can take 20% off. So even though the original transaction value might be $100, if you buy 100 pieces, then you can actually take out $20 and show that the actual transaction value was $80. That way, only the $80 will be due and not the $100, which were the original price. Now let's discuss all the things that you need to make sure you have added to the invoice value. If these things are not part of the invoice value, then you need to make sure that before you declare the net entered value to US Customs, these items are part of the invoice value and the net entered value has these things in it. There are 5 things that you need to make sure are part of the net entered value. As we discussed if you choose to overgo the deductive valuation method, what you can use is the 5th way, which is computed valuation method. This is pretty much the opposite of deductive. It's where you take the core price or the price of making the item and then add certain things to it to come with the value which you need to report to customs. For computed, the acronym would be GAPPA, G-A-P-P-A. This would include general expenses, which include profit or administration. It includes packing expenses, profit that you want to add on to it, and any assists. If you cannot use any of these previous methods, then what you are left with is pretty much any other method which is approved by customs. These other approved reasonable methods, they need to be using a generally acceptable or generally accepted accounting principles. That means these other reasonable methods, they need to be pretty much generally accepted accounting principles and they need to show certain things. The first is which economic resources and obligations should be recorded as assets and liabilities. Two, which changes in assets and liabilities should be recorded. Three, how the assets and liabilities and changes in them should be measured. Number 4, what information should be disclosed and how it should be disclosed. And number 5, which financial statement should be prepared. On the other hand, there are some unacceptable bases of appraisement. There are 7 of these, and if you for some reason are using these as the basis of appraisement, they will not be accepted by customs. These are listed in 19 CFR Part 152, 108. Number 1, the selling price in the US of merchandise produced in the US. Number 2, selling price in the US of merchandise produced in the US. Number 2, a system that provides for the appraisement of imported merchandise at a higher of the 2 alternative values. The third unacceptable base of appraisement is the price of merchandise in domestic market of the country of exportation. Number 4, the cost of production that is identical or similar to the merchandise being appraised. Number 5, the price of merchandise for export to a country other than the US. Number 6, the minimum values for appraisement. Number 7, arbitrary or fictitious values. So these 7 things are unacceptable bases of appraisement for any item. Now let's take a moment to discuss assists, what they are and how you can see them. What is an assist? An assist pretty much happens when the US importer has provided a foreign manufacturer with some kind of help that's going to help that foreign manufacturer make or bring those items into the US, or pay a cost of something that's going to be helping them bring something inside the US. So let's go through and discuss different kinds of assists. There are 4 different types of assists. Number 1 is when you provide the foreign manufacturer with parts or materials that actually become part of the article that's going to be imported inside the US. Number 2 are tools, dies, machinery, and molds which actually help produce the part that will be imported. Number 3 is pretty much things that become consumed but don't become part of the item that's produced by the foreign manufacturer. The last type of assist is called engineering assist. These can either be things like blueprints and diagrams, or it can actually be a person. If blueprints or diagrams cannot be public property, if it is, then you cannot declare it as an assist, and cannot be US origin. On the other hand, if it's a person, cannot be US resident, or if it's a non-US resident working for a US firm, they are considered an assist if they are a manager or a supervisor. In order for something to be declared as an assist or be known as an assist or be recognized as an assist, they have to meet 3 criteria. An assist has 3 criteria. Number 1, the assist has to have value. 2, the assist needs to be given for free at a reduced price. And this assist needs to help make the parts which will eventually be shipped to the US. So let's take an example. Let's say that you have a mold. You ship to UK, which helps make EPDM seals that fall under 401693. When you take the seals and import it, you will also add value for the assist. Let's assume the seals are $100 and the mold is $150. So what this does is that you'll have $100 worth of seals and $150 worth of mold. The seals will have 4016.93 in this assist. It will also have the same tariff code as the item it produced. But in this example that I gave, you have to realize that the US importer also shipped the mold to UK. So in this case, you have to add value of shipment as well. So if that was worth the $200, then the total import value in this case would be $450. And then of course you go and make sure that you have all the other deductions and additions that you need to make the correct net entered value. So two things to note here is HTS of assist same as item it produces, and value of assist includes the shipment cost to the foreign manufacturer. And there are multiple ways in which you can declare the value of the assist when you import those items that you made. Let's go through a couple of them, not all of them, but a couple of the main ones. The first one is the entire value when the first shipment of those items is shipped inside the US. So when the first batch of these seals, for example, in the previous example, if the first batch of seals come into the US at that time, you can declare the entire value of the mold or the entire value of the assist. The second way of declaring an assist is you can divide up the value of the assist between the number of parts it makes. So for example, let's say the assist is $150, right? And it will make 150 parts. In this case, if you import 50 parts for first shipment, value of assist will be $50 as well. These are the two main ones that you need to know for the exam. There are two more, but I don't think that's something you have to worry about. Well guys, that's pretty much it. We have discussed valuation and assist. For valuation, we went through 6 different kinds of valuation methods. That includes actual transaction value method, identical, similar, deductive, computed, and any other reasonable accepted by US Customs. Going through these valuation methods, we discussed how we go from the top and then we go down until we get to number 4 and 5. For deductive and computed value, you can switch them around and choose whichever one you want. We also discussed when you cannot use actual transaction value as well. After discussing all these valuation methods, we also went through the assist, discussed the 4 different types of assist, and 2 different ways of declaring these assists. We also discussed the 3 main criteria which you have to meet to be able to call something an assist. If for some reason you cannot meet even one of those 3 criteria, you cannot declare that thing as an assist. Before we actually end the lecture though, let's go through a couple of examples for valuation from the previous US Customs exams. One last thing, if you want to look into more detail, valuation or appraisement is discussed in 19 CFR part 152, 102. But before we end this lecture, let's go through an example. For this lecture for valuation, I'm going to go through 2018 April exam, question number 50. This is a valuation question, but even though this question might be one of the simple ones, you can use this question to actually start thinking about the valuation process and how it works and how it shows up on the exams. The reason I'm doing this one right now is because that way we can start thinking about valuation, and as we go on along with my classification lectures, I'll also start doing some valuation questions. I'll go back to previous exams and go through different kinds of valuation questions. So question 50 on the 2018 April exam said, the importer company A imports 1,000 batteries from an unrelated overseas seller at a price of $0.50 CIF per battery. The overseas seller buys the battery in bulk from an overseas manufacturer. Company A requires each battery to be individually wrapped in polythene with a cardboard backing for display at retail outlet in the United States. Company A provides the polythene and cardboard backing material free of charge to the overseas seller. Company A obtains the materials from a supplier in the United States at a cost of $40 for the quantity required to wrap 1,000 batteries. The seller of the imported battery arranges for